Hello, sixth grade, investigation 2.3, summary notes, variables, and patterns. Today we took a look at the four quadrants. Again, in the past, you've only looked at this one quadrant. Even when we were making graphs, typically we are in this area. But as we saw with our profit and our income, that you may get into an area where you're in the negatives. So this is a Cartesian plane, and there are different labels that we want to put on here. So up here, okay, this is quadrant one. Okay, so we'll call this quadrant one. And sometimes, for whatever reason, they like to use Roman numerals. So this is quadrant one. And in quadrant one, we have an x, positive x, and a positive y. It's now going to go counterclockwise. So we're going in this direction. We're moving to the left, and this is quadrant two. And in quadrant two, if we're starting at our origin and moving left, we have a negative x, and we're moving up, and these numbers are positive. So we have a positive y. In quadrant three, again, if we start our origin, we're moving to the left. These are negative numbers. And then we move down, and these are negative numbers. So this is a negative x and a negative y. And finally, in quadrant four, we're starting at our origin. We're moving right. So these are positive numbers. And we're moving down. So these are negative numbers. So our x is positive, but in this case, our y is negative. Now, when we're plotting points, alphabetical, x comes before y. Okay, so let's say we're going to plot the point, let's say 2, -3. So I'm going to start with my x. I always start at the origin, which is right here. And I'm going to go 2 to the right, 1, 2. And then, so positive goes right, negative goes left. And then my y, positive goes up or negative goes down. So I have a negative y, so now I will be going down 3. 1, 2, 3. So that point, 2, -3 is right here. So once again, positive x goes right or negative x goes left. Positive y goes up or negative y goes down. So let's determine the coordinates of these points. So we always start at the origin. Okay, if I'm going to point A, I'm going to be going to the right. So I'm going to the right 6 places. Okay, so that will be my first. I always put it in parentheses, 6, comma. So here I am, and now I'm going up for A. So I'm going into the positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So point A is 6, 8. Point B, we start back at our origin. Okay, and this time it's to the left. So my lefts are my negatives. And I'm over here at -6. And then I'm going up. And again, up for my y is positive. And I'm going up 2. You notice parentheses. And you forgot my comma. And put the comma there. Now for C, I'm going to start at my origin. And I'm going to the right 4. And I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I'm going down, it is a negative. Now we're going to plot the point D. So we're going -4, -5. Start at my origin. Remember, I go left or right first. Some people like to say you run before you jump or you dive. So I need to go -4. So I'm going to the left -4. And then -5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5 means down. And right there would be point D. Okay. E is 9, -2. Start at my origin. 9 is positive, so I move to the right 9. And -2 means I'm going down, now down. 1, 2. So that would be point E. Now on the second page, we're going to be talking about distance between points. We're just going to, in 6th grade, work on points that are either vertical or horizontal from each other. Okay, when you get into algebra, you'll learn a formula for points that are diagonal. So here are 2 points, 3, 6 and 3, 4. So let's start with 3, 6. Start my origin, go right, go up, and that's my first point. Okay. 3, 4, I'm going to start here, negative 4, I'm sorry. Start here, I go to the right 3, and then now down 4. Okay, so which direction are you moving to get from the first point to the second point? We're moving down. Now, one way is just to say, well, how far did you move? Well, from here to my x-axis is 6. And then from 6 down to negative 4 is another 4. So I moved 10 places down. Or you could just count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it's kind of like a game where I start here. My first move is my first count. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. We have negative 4, 2. Start here, I go negative 4, and I go up 2. Now we'll do the second point, which is negative 6, 2. So I start at my origin, I go negative 6, and I go positive 2. 1, 2, and there is my point. Okay, from my first point to my second point, I move to the left. And I moved, I'm going to start here, 1, 2. They are 2 apart. Okay, we're not going to any of my axes. They are 2 apart. Now, there is a way of figuring out distance without drawing on our coordinate grid, and that's using the absolute value. So, if the coordinates are the same, if the x coordinates are the same, we're going to be using the y coordinates. So, in other words, here I have 3 and 3, my x's are the same and my y's are different. So I'm going to be focusing on my 5 and my 7. Okay, and we'll tell you how you're going to focus on that in a moment. Okay, if the y coordinates are the same, you're going to focus on the x. So here my 2 and my 2 are my same, so I'm going to cross those out, and I would just be focusing on the 8 and the negative 3. So if the points in the same quadrant, meaning they have the same sign, we are going to subtract the absolute value. So if we look here, my x's are the same, so I'm not going to focus on those. And I'm going to focus on my 3 and my 8. So because my signs are the same, that means these guys are in the same quadrant. And if the signs are the same, you're going to subtract. So we have our, just take the higher number, which is 8. So the absolute value of 8 minus the absolute value of 3. Absolute value of 8. Absolute value of 3 is 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. So once again, the points in the same quadrant, you'll know if they have the same signs. So you're going to subtract. Choose the one that is larger. 8 minus 3 gives us 5. Now the reason we're saying absolute value instead of just saying 8 minus 3 is if we look at this example. So here my y's are the same, so I'm going to ignore them. Then I'm focusing on a negative 4 and a negative 9, and that's where the absolute value. So take the number that is further from 0, which is my negative 9, and I'm subtracting, sign, same, subtract. So the absolute value of negative 9 is 9, minus the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, and therefore the distance they are also 5 apart. Now, if my points are in different quadrants, kind of like our first one up here, okay, remember I said, oh, let's find this distance, and then let's find this distance, and we combine them. So if my signs, if they're in different quadrants, my signs are different, and this time you're going to add the absolute value. So if I look here, my x values are the same, so I'm going to cross them out. So now I'm focusing on 7 and negative 3. In this case, it doesn't matter which number you put first because we're going to be adding. So I have 7, absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So my total is 10. So just like here, it was, oh, this is 6 and this is 4, and my total was 10. Now let's take a look at this one. This time my y's are the same, So now I'm going to focus on my -2 and my 4. My signs are different, so I add. So the absolute value of -2 plus the absolute value of 4. The absolute value of -2 is 2. The absolute value of 4 is 4. And I add them, and those 2 points are 6 apart.